Episode 11, Chris Opdyke Show. Today I have in special guest Lena Piccininni. Lena is a female barber and a hairstylist. Lena, welcome.
Hello.
Talk a little bit about how you got involved just getting in the hair business. I know you started through the vocational program in your high school.
Yeah.
And you kind of did it a little bit differently than some of the others because you started at your senior year, and then even after you graduated high school, you still went to Voc for a morning session. So
yeah.
Explain that a little bit.
So I guess when I was a junior, I kind of really didn't know what I wanted to do yet. I think I wanted to be a lawyer, or I thought I was going to be a singer. I really thought that's what was going to happen for me. And my senior year, I started worrying about it a little bit more, and I kind of started liking hair, but a big part of it, I think I just love that in vocational school you got to miss 2 classes in high school, so I was like, this is great for me.
You got a little half day.
Yeah, so I was like, all right, great, I don't have to do science, perfect. So I went vocational school thinking, I didn't even realize I had to do it another year, and I was like, oh my God. So I did it my senior year, and then you had to do 2 years of vocational school, so then I did it the next year. The year after, I did the morning classes, and then I would go straight to the salon to work.
So that's a little unique, too. I think most 17, 18-year-olds are like, I'm just in Vogue, so I'm going to go my 8 to 12 noon and chill out the rest of the day. But
I didn't even know that many people that went the year after. Like, a lot of people dropped out because they just wanted to do it the 1 year, and then they're like, forget about it. And I was like, absolutely not. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to get my license and do it the right way.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about that day. You go in the morning, then you go and work. What are some of the things that drew you into wanting to be a stylist barber?
Probably when I was younger, I was a huge tomboy, and I grew up with my dad and my brother, so I didn't really have, the mom figure to, help me out with my hair and makeup and things like that. So I used to get made fun of a lot when I was younger. I was definitely, and one of my friends say to this day, and I always make fun of him, who's my client now? I'm not going to say his name because you probably know who he is. But he was like, yeah, you were definitely the ugly duckling. You were very rough when you were younger. And then I started doing my hair and makeup, and I was like, I just want to help other people, feel good about themselves. And then when I started doing people's hair, the reactions that people would get, from doing their makeup or changing their hairstyle or even just showing them simple techniques that they could do at home that was so easy, just made me feel it just felt so good inside.
Like you're helping them out.
Yeah.
So you're female and you're pretty big in the barber world. One of the ways you got in through a friend down at the beach in the summertime, he hurt himself and you picked up his book for the summer.
Yeah.
So talk about how that kind of became about, because that's a story within itself.
God. So in cosmetology, they actually don't do anything on men's cutting. I think they had one day where they showed you a picture of a men's haircut and said, this is a men's haircut, next chapter. We didn't learn anything at all. So at the time, I quit my salon job, and a friend of my father's had called me and knew that I did hair, and he said, I heard you do hair. Do you know how to cut men's hair? So I was like, yeah, how hard could it be? And he was like, actually, I broke my shoulder, which I didn't even know. He was actually a college professor for Monmouth, and I had no idea. I just thought that's what he did. And he's like, no, in the summers, I own a barbershop, and this is what I do. He broke his shoulder, and he said, I'm the busiest one. I own it. You can have my full book clientele. Do you want to come work? And I was like, I can start tomorrow because I needed a job. So, I hung up the phone. I was so excited, and I was like, I don't know anything about men's cutting, but in my head, I'm like, how hard could it be? I could probably figure it out. And, back then, Instagram wasn't popular. YouTube wasn't. It was there, but it wasn't huge like it is now with the tutorials and everything like that. So I was kind of looking at pictures, and I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I was like, what's the worst that can happen? He's going to fire me, so whatever. I kind of just threw myself into the wolves.
And that was kind of your first experience in the men's barbershop?
Yes.
And how'd that go?
That actually wasn't so bad, only because it was more gentleman shop, so it was businessmen and little kids. So it was a lot of more shear cuts. It wasn't the crazy fade, straight razors a typical barbershop. So I didn't do too bad in that just because I used my shears a lot, and I knew I was very comfortable with them. So I was like, I can make a short haircut with shears as if I could with clippers. So I just kept going towards my shears.
So you kept that for one full summer. That's what you did, and then
it was a summer, and then it started going into winter. But the winter, because it was in close to Deal, New Jersey, so the winter time is completely dead. Everybody went back to New York, so it was more of a seasonal shop. So at that time, because I had my mortgage and stuff with my brother, so my brother's like, you need to get a steady job. This is not cutting it, and I'm like, okay. So now I'm thinking I'm a barber. So I tried looking for other barbershops, and a couple of my friends mentioned Justin's barbershop in Manalpin. So I was like, can you get me an interview with him? But, don't tell him my age. Don't tell him anything about me. Just get me an interview, and I'll do all the talking. Because I knew I had to lie to get the job, unfortunately. Yeah. So I interviewed with him. He's like, come on a Friday night. I was like, okay. And it's like completely different. Like it was just bumping. The music's bumping. It was like all guys, huge tattooed barbers doing like these fades. And I was like, oh, there's not one scissor cut in here in this chair right now. I was like, oh my God. But what I saw was that they were really busy, and I saw it was money. And I said, you know, if anybody can do it, I could do it. If he can do it, why can't I do it? So I just figured I was going to just do it.
So in the earlies and Justin's, you just kind of took the walk-ins?
Yeah, so I told Justin that I barbered for a little bit and I had a full clientele, and after I started, he knew that I lied. But I said, I'm a hard worker. I'll be here open to close. I'll take whatever the guys I want to take. And when I started there, a lot of the guys didn't want to do children. They didn't want to do seniors. They didn't want to do people with long hair. So I said, perfect, I'll take everybody because, kids grow up. They could be your client forever. Seniors have sons, grandkids. Like, I was just looking at, like, these are still people that need haircuts all the time and still can get me a clientele. So I started getting busier and busier, but then I started getting some fades over in my chair, and I wasn't comfortable at all. And when I first started the barbershop, like, they were so rude to me because at the end of the day, I'm still taking money from them. Mm-hmm. And they kind of were just mean, like, oh, you don't know how to barber, then you shouldn't be here. You don't know how to do the haircut, then don't do it. And, like, they would, like, literally turn their chair away so I couldn't watch them. Like, I would sit all day and watch Justin at the desk because I'd be literally not doing anything. I'd be sitting there all day, paying attention and, like, trying to learn techniques, like, anything I could learn. And it just was, like, horrible, and I wasn't making any money, so I had to get a second job, which was, like, at a nightclub, which I hated. It was 2 hours away because I didn't want anybody knowing I was working at a nightclub. Yeah. Until one of my friends actually went to a nightclub and saw me, and I wanted to cry. And I was like, I just don't want to do this. It's not for me. It's not my scene. So I figured, I was like, if I'm going to take this seriously, like, I almost have to be better than the men to get taken serious as a barbershop as a woman.
Yeah. So, and it so happens so much in the industry, like, you need some help from people in there, right? And they kind of don't want to. And I don't get that, because if someone, I teach, right, full time, that's what I do for a living. When the young kids come in, if they want some help, I'm always going to help them out. So, because you weren't getting some help in the shop, what did you do to learn how to barber?
I honestly just was looking at haircuts and kind of comparing mine to them. Like, why doesn't mine look like that? And trying to figure out, like, the steps of barbering is very, very easy. It's numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's just the fact of applying it to people's hair. So for me, I did makeup, and I understood blending, and I understood dark spots and light spots, like, just from doing makeup and, like, fading out eyeshadow and such. So I kind of applied that to barbering, and I wanted to make my fades look perfect. So I really started paying attention to every detail. I started just looking up different pictures, and then I started searching if there was any barbering classes that I could find online, and I found a guy from Florida who was doing barbering classes all over the East Coast. So I went to his New York class to try to pick up some tips.
And when you went to the New York class, you kind of, like, flourished a little bit, right?
Yes.
So he actually followed me on Instagram. And at that time, I was, like, posting a little bit of the guys' haircuts that I was doing, which were not good. And I was doing, like, weddings, makeup, whatever I was doing, just always working, always posting something. So that was when Instagram just came out, and I was one of the only females in that barber class. And I went with some of the guys from work, and to us, he was, like, famous. He had a lot of followers on Instagram already, so we were, like, starstruck. We didn't even really know who he was, but he came up to me, and he's like, oh, I recognize you, and obviously your name is not common, so I recognize your name, because I always had my first and last name as my Instagram name. Mm-hmm. And he's like, you're a good barber. And I was like, you don't have to lie. No, I'm horrible. He's like, I like the fact that you're young and you're very professional, and every time I look at your page, you're doing something. He's like, whether, the haircuts, you could always improve, because practice makes perfect. He's like, but your work ethic is always there. And I was like, well, thank you, And then a couple weeks later, he actually reached out to me and asked if I wanted to film for his app. So he had an app on the iPhone that basically, like, broke down haircuts. So he did his first app himself, and he was the only one doing haircuts. And then he wanted the second app to, have barbers from all over basically all over the country. So he met a lot of barbers through his classes, and he said, whoever kind of sticks out to me, like, that's who I want on the app. And he said, you stuck out because of your work ethic, and I think it'd be awesome to feature you as the first woman on an app, like, because, like, women barbers weren't really, like, out there yet. I mean, very slim. Like, there's, like, probably a handful that I can name. And so I went out there and did that. But at the time, like, I still wasn't confident in my cutting, but I was like, I mean, this is a huge opportunity. Like, why am I going to say no because I'm scared? Sure. I just got to figure it out.
Now, was your cutting good, or you just kind of, like, didn't feel confident about it, but your cutting was as good as everybody else's?
I wouldn't say it was good as everybody else's yet, only because I think my timing. Because then my eyes started getting like the fade. Like I started realizing like, okay, I have to keep going. I have to keep cleaning it up to make the fade perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But my time wasn't there. So when I actually recorded the haircut, it took me 3 hours to cut this guy's hair. But I also was in his barbershop in Florida. There was like 85 men there that were just watching me, giving me like the meanest face, like a mean mug the entire time.
Yeah.
Basically, because they're like, oh, this is a girl, let me see her fade. And, like, kind of doubting me, but I had to block them out. But I actually had a different model that canceled. I was supposed to do, like, a little taper on the side, which is, very small, and then a shear cut. And something happened, he canceled last minute, so I had to cut one of the barbers that worked there. And I was like, oh, my God. And even Pacino was like, I'm not going to lie, I even have sometimes a hard time cutting his hair. Like, I have to take time with it. He has very, very coarse hair and a lot of, like, dents in his head. So any barber knows, like, when you have a dent, it creates a dark spot. Mm-hmm. So you have to, like, cut one side lighter to make it all look even. It's just really complicated. And I was like, oh, I was literally working against everything. Everything was against me. But 3 hours later, I finished it. So.
You talk a little bit about Pacino. I know who he is because we spoke the other night on the phone, but just for the people listening, kind of explain who he is in the barber world.
When I met him, he was just a barber. He opened 2 barber shops, and then he started educating for wall clippers, and then decided to kind of educate his own brand like himself, and then just kind of host his own classes. So he would just promote himself and book classes in every state, like on the East Coast and the West Coast. So then, and he just got like, when he was working for Wall, he met a couple other people, like Curtis Smith, who actually I'm good friends with, but he is known for cutting P. Diddy. So Curtis was a celebrity barber. Got in touch with Pacino. So Pacino got a big name also for being a celebrity barber, working with Wall, doing the hair shows, and then doing his own classes. So a lot of people knew him, but now he's, like, famous. He has products in Target, CVS, Walgreens. Like, he is just an amazing mentor and business person and, like, great friend to know.
And I also think it's interesting, the real reason you guys probably kind of connected was through your social media, right?
Yes, through Instagram.
So it's pretty important to have.
And the fact that he's from West Palm Beach and I'm in New Jersey.
Yeah. And then he kind of started taking you along to go do shows and teach.
Mm-hmm.
So talk about that.
So after the app, I like left Florida. I was like, there's no way he's going to call me again. That was horrible. I took forever. And, he called me. He's like, you did really good. He's like, I know how the barbers were looking at you. And he's like, I was going to tell him to leave, but I like the fact that you just kind of, you pushed through it. He's like, you have very tough skin for, like, a young girl. He's like, I like that. And, like,
how old were you at the time?
I think 22. And I'm not going to say my age now.
23. Go ahead.
Yes, yeah. But it was, like, a very nice conversation where we hung up the phone a month later. And he's like, we're doing our West Coast tour because the New York class I took was his East Coast tour. Took a break. That's when I did the app. And then, like, a month later, he was going to do the whole West Coast. He's like, I think do you ever think of educating? And I was like, no, who am I going to teach? I can't even do a haircut.
I feel like I'm learning myself.
Yeah. And then I was like, I would love to, but I don't think I'm ready. And he's like, all right, well, would you want to just come to classes? He's like, we're having a lot of females come to class. And he's like, I think it would be awesome to have a female barber at least at the class for them to talk to or, just to show your presence, like just for other females to look up to. And I was like, okay. And again, I was like super nervous, but he's like, you're not going to cut. Don't worry about it. Bring your stuff in case, like just so you can get like the guys' haircuts so you can practice, but that's it. He lied. So we went to the first class, San Diego, and I was all, dressed up, ready for class, like just ready to speak. And then he was like, do you have your hair stuff? I was like, yeah, it's in the van. He's like, all right, go get it. And I was like, why? And he's like, I'm just going to make you do a haircut. He's like, what are you comfortable with? And I was like, not fading. And he's like, you're comfortable with shears. Do a shear cut. Get someone in the audience, do a shear cut, and just, I want to see how you cut and talk. And I was like, oh my God.
And how many people were probably attending that?
I think 100.
So it's a pretty big crowd for your first time.
Yeah. It was, I don't think I said more than 10 words. It was horrible. Because I honestly wanted to vomit. There was people, because at the time we were like in a room. So I think the first like row of seats was like as far as we are. So like I was so intimidated because I'm like, these barbers don't care. They're all older than me. Everyone was older than me. Everyone's barbering a long time than me. I'm like, they probably know I don't even know what I'm doing. But they're like, you're teaching them something different that they don't know. Like a lot of barbers, so a lot of times like they don't have barber schools. They have a lot of cosmetology. So older barbers, they would have to get a cosmetology license to work in a barbershop. Now they started doing barber schools. They have 2 different licenses. Or a lot of the barbers, just didn't want to go to school and they're cutting illegally without a license. So they don't know how to do shear cuts. So I was super nervous, but then after class, like people, like a lot of the guys that looked intimidating came up to me. They're like, we really learned a lot from you. Like your class was awesome. Like we didn't know how to do a comb over, or we didn't know the right way how to cut it, and like you really just like informed us a lot. And I get so much good feedback, and I was like, you guys were so intimidating. Like I was like nervous, and they're like, no, we were just so interested in what you were saying that's why we didn't have like an expression.
Yeah, you're just looking at
So
a
I
bunch
was
of
like,
salty men.
oh yeah. So then I was like, oh my god, like, and just messages I was getting, I was like, I feel like that's so awesome to just like share my knowledge with people that I don't know, like you pick up everything from so many different people. Like that's why I love educating.
Yeah, and one thing you say, they might have learned that they might have sat through a whole other class, and then they see you doing it like, oh, like the light
Yeah.
goes off after the second or third
Yep.
time, maybe. So through that teaching, you kind of have been traveling a lot. So talk a little bit about the travels, because you're not only staying in the United States, you're traveling kind of the world, right?
Yeah. So we so after that, like long story short, his manager became my manager. He's like, I think if this is what you want to do, I think you're awesome at it. You'd be a great like pioneer for women. I'm like, absolutely, because I'm still just trying to
Find your way.
yeah, like I didn't know what I want to do. I was like, I'm just gonna take everything that's coming at me, So we started. He's like, we're gonna do another tour. So we did three different tours of like 30 cities in the U.S. So we did almost like out of all 3 tours, we did almost all the states, which is awesome. I went to Brazil twice, taught there, taught in Russia, Mexico, Canada. And actually Brazil was like our biggest following, which was like amazing. It was like, I felt like we were at like a concert. Like just when we went on stage, like the love that we got, they're so like appreciative of us going there. They're very sweet. And I don't know, like the events there, like the entire country like goes. It's crazy, but
Mhm.
So that's great that guys in Brazil want to learn how to cut hair, I guess.
Yeah.
Right? So you're cutting, and then you kind of see some things coming along the lines. Now you want to start playing a little bit like, maybe I want my own shear. I'm playing a little bit with hairspray, and that stuff didn't work out. And then you came along. Now you also have your own hair care product.
Yeah.
So explain a little bit about how you started mixing and all that stuff, and then you met with the chemist.
So this was like actually 4 years ago. I wanted to come out with something just because I knew I had the mindset to do so. I just didn't know what. So I started sampling things, and I was like, I just don't feel it. I don't feel it in my gut that this is it for me. And I actually put it on pause for probably 2 years. And I'm like, I'm not going to rush it. If it's meant to come, it's going to come. But I'm looking for it, but I can't, I'm not going to.
I can't put my thumb on it.
Yeah, not yet. So I was like, I'm just going to keep working, going to keep making money, and then I'm going to invest in whatever comes to my mind. So, and I remember listening to another podcast. I forget what it was, but it was just like, don't come out with something to come out with something, or just to come out with money. Like, come out with something that you need. Come out, like, something that you need that's not there, invent it. Why not? So I'm like, okay. So I was just paying attention to, like, because now I'm in the salon of just something that I use a lot, and I wanted something that was universal, like kind of, or not universal, unisex, there you go, for both like men and women, because that's my clientele. So when I started reaching for serums a lot that I would use in guys, their beards, the women, like everything. And now a lot of people wearing their hair natural, they don't want like more of a styling product, they want more of a hair care, is what I think. So I'm like, okay. And then every time I would use the serum, I would cocktail different things together from different brands, like either a thicker serum, a thinner serum, mix them together to make what I needed. And I'm like, I just want a serum. And then like another thing that I would always use is shine spray. Like I use it in Caesars, I use it again in beards, women's hair, everything. So I feel like that'd be a perfect pair to come out with both together. How hard could that be, right? So I was like, oh yeah, right. So I found a chemist in Long Island, and it was just crazy because I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew they had a lot of products, and I was like, all right, well, I'm going to meet with him, but this may not be it. Before that, I was sampling from like China, California, and I didn't really like the products that I was getting for what I wanted. So I just kept going. So I met with him, and I kind of he told me, we spoke on the phone, and he's like, what do you want? Bring in certain products you like and tell me what you like from each product. And he's the one that knows why I like it with the chemistry side.
Yeah.
So I brought in like, I forget, he laughs at me. I had like a bag of 25 things, and I'm like, this little thing, this little scent, this like shine, this. And he was like, this is a lot, but I'll figure it out. So he started giving me samples. He's like, give me a couple weeks. I'm going to send you a sample of what I think, what I'm getting from your information. And the first one, I was like, no, this is horrible. And he's like, why? I'm like, it's actually causing static in the hair, or it smells really weird, or it's way too oily, or way too this. And he's like, all right, I'm going to tweak it again, which, takes time for him to make.
Sure.
Ship it back out from Long Island, and then we just kept going from there. He's like, don't worry about the scent right now. Just worry about the actual product. And mind you, I had to try it on different people. I wanted to try it out on the guys and the different women's textures and stuff. So even if I didn't like it on someone, I still had to try it out at least a week because that's at least, I don't know, over 100 clients, say. So I did that, and then I finally found the perfect product, and then we started doing scents. That took forever. But basically like a year, like start to finish.
Yeah,
That was my next question, because I think entrepreneurs out there and some of the young kids that even I talk to right now who haven't been in the studio yet, I can sense their impatience through the text message or the DM. Like,
yeah, everybody's impatient and everybody's lazy and nobody has discipline.
Like today I was
That's what I had to say.
Yeah, like today I literally have a guest coming in a couple of weeks and we were texting back and forth for like 5-10 minutes and then he just went dead and I knew he's doing something else. So he got back to me tonight, like literally on the car ride here. So, but some people are so impatient with that. So that was my next thing, because I think everybody just wants it, the world we live in today, right? I call it the add water and mix and you have your thing. So from start to finish, about a year. And you also have like something else coming out as well, right?
So right now,
so I got that. That's up and running. And I wanted to come out with another product. Like I don't want to do like a whole full line, only because I mean eventually I do, but I didn't want to go through like an investor, so I wanted to do everything myself. So I saved up my own money, and and like everything down to the labels, down to changing fonts on my bottles. Everything's money.
Yeah.
Everything's time and money. So I didn't even realize that. I'm like, I thought we were working together for one price, and she's like, I mean, unfortunately, every time you change it, I have to change it, which is you know what I mean. So it's a lot of money. So. But I knew, I don't know, maybe I'm a little stubborn, but maybe I don't know, I just wanted to do everything myself. So I was like, I'm going to do what I can and not drown myself in a sense, but definitely keep going. So when I have a little bit saved for that, that's when I want to come out with a new product. So I have my chunk saved for my next product. So right now I'm sampling a men's product. This is the very beginning, but I actually think I found the product right away, but I am crazy. And I just want to make sure it's perfect, obviously. So he's actually sending me another sample. I should probably get it this week. So we'll see. Fingers crossed.
You're also looking at some maybe mini straight razors as well.
Yes. So I do a lot of designs. Also, one of my many talents.
How did you get into the design piece?
I don't know, because I can't draw. I literally can't even draw a stick figure, so I don't know how that even happened. I think someone in the barber. This is back at Justin's at the barbershop when I was still trying to build clients.
Like, I want a lightning bolt.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh my god. So I was like, okay, and it's extremely hard. There's no like pencil eraser. Once it's on the head, it's on the head. So I started little. I didn't like, they didn't ask me for like a tiger because it would look like a circle. So I did little lines at first, and I started doing more and more. But I don't know. I just started doing it little by little, and I think because like I pay such like attention to detail, and like I'm so precise that it's easier for me to do designs, because it really doesn't have to be a certain thing. Like you could do a freestyle, you could do something more symmetric, as long as it's neat and like even, like it makes sense. And that's what someone told me, because like one of the guys I actually traveled on tour with is amazing at designs, and I was like, how do you come up with this stuff? Like I couldn't even think of that. And he's like, I don't know, I just do what I feel. I put a line there, as long as it makes sense, then and it's neat, it's fine. He's like, stop thinking too much. And I'm like, okay. So then I just started practicing, started doing it little by little. But as I do them, and like maybe because I'm a female, but my hands are like really little, and the straight razors are huge, that I thought, I was like, it'd be so much easier if I had a smaller freaking straight razor. And I was like, ding, 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 let me start Googling and let me see if I can find a manufacturer. So that's what I'm doing now as well.
Has that process started, or is it kind of like
I just ordered my first sample. So I haven't got it. I think June 22nd. What's today's date?
Today's the 10th.
June 22nd, I'm getting my shipment in. So
your first mini straight razor.
Yeah.
One of the things when we were like kind of talking on the phone prepping the other night is, all of this stuff, learning how to be a barber, learning how to be a hairstylist, and the process. You learn some patience through doing all of that stuff. Explain that for some of the people out there listening that, like I just talked about a couple minutes ago, that they just want everything immediately. People that want to be a barber, or the girls in Votech right now that want to be a hairstylist and they want to go do it, but they just can't yet. They got to wash hair or clean up in the shop. Talk about that process a little bit.
I mean, the process is definitely annoying, and it's crazy because we just went through that at the salon, that we had girls that were assisting that left because they were getting offered to put on the floor somewhere else, and we're like, you need to do this, because while you're assisting, you watch everybody, and that's where you learn. Like, unfortunately, you don't learn like the skills in school. You learn the book work to be able to pass your license. So you need like that year or two to just be on the floor and watch. And it is annoying, but you got to like make your first step before you run, and like you have to be patient. And I feel like in this generation, especially with technology, everybody like we get things so quick because of technology, but you still have to put in the work, and you can't skip the struggle because it's not going to take you anywhere.
Yeah.
Like you have to just be patient. And there were so many things that I started that I'm like, ugh, I don't want to do this anymore. And you can't have that mindset. Like you have to find something that you're really passionate about, because even if you're passionate and you love it, it still can get stressful and annoying, and you get frustrated. So
yeah, sure, that's with anything.
if you start something, like you got to just make sure your heart's in it, and then why stop? Like just keep going. It's not going to be easy, but if you ask any entrepreneur, like I'm sure when they came out of business and stuff, it's not easy. It doesn't come tomorrow.
Yeah. When you see girls coming into the shop like out of like a fresh face or a newbie, is that like 1 year to 2 years just on the floor assisting before they're really?
Sometimes it could be less than a year, but it really depends on the person. You know, we have some girls that are like a little nervous to start, so they want to stay on the floor like a little extra, which is fine, because if you want to be ready.
Yeah.
And then we have the girls that aren't ready that want to jump on the floor right away. And then those are the ones that end up leaving, and then they might not have the knowledge of, certain things. Like, when you're doing color, you're doing chemicals. You can burn someone's hair off, fry somebody's scalp. Like, you want to make sure you know what you're doing.
Yeah. The mixture has to be correct.
Yeah.
When we were talking before this, one of the things you talked about is kind of getting support. Who's supported you kind of along the way? And we talked about like some friends kind of, like you said, you don't know if they get jealous, or Lena thinks she's like this big famous person now. Talk a little bit about who supported you, and friends that kind of stuck around through it, and friends that really you don't see that much anymore since the business has really started to take off for you.
It was a small circle that supported me. Definitely like my family, 100%. Like my brother and his wife are huge supporters to me. Like my boyfriend and my boss and stuff. Like it's like a very small circle. I feel like you would think that there was more people that would support you, that there wasn't. And not even like, I feel like sometimes like people don't say things to me, and then some people say, you're such a strong, independent person that they know that you got it. So they don't say, like, they don't like compliment, or they won't say like you're doing a good job. Like they know you're tough, they know you're strong, they know you're going to succeed, because that's how your mindset is. So a lot of times, like, there's like so many quotes that's even like, check on your strong friend, because some people just like automatically think like, oh, she's good, she's got it, she's Lena, she's fine, she's tough. And then even the same thing with like my product line, I feel like I thought so many more people, or certain people, were gonna, support and buy my products, and then they didn't. And I was just like, wow. But at the same time, like, you can't expect people to do certain things, because either they forget, or maybe they are jealous, or maybe they just think like, she has a lot of followers, she probably has a lot of supporters, she doesn't need mine.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, you never know what people think, but I've learned, and even before I started, I knew, I was like, even if I don't sell one thing this week, like I have to still keep doing it, because I believe in my brand, and I believe in my work ethic, and I believe like this is a great product, and I know people are going to love it once it starts getting out there. So I just got to keep going.
With your hair care product that's out there now, explain that it's kind of right now out of the garage, or out of the extra room in
my
the house. So you have a room full of boxes and full of product, and Lena kind of does everything. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, when you read or you look online, are like, oh, well, I'm starting my own company, so I need a guy to run my Instagram, and I need a guy to do this, and I need a guy to ship.
I did everything. And it was funny when I was actually home from work when they delivered my shipment. So I'm thinking the guys are going to help me bring it in. Nope. The guy dropped off my pallet and said, bye. And I'm on like I have to go up stairs, and then like a little landing, and then another stairs. And I literally spent hours like bringing all the boxes inside, 100 boxes I had to carry up the stairs. And then I actually left it in my kitchen. So I was running it out of my kitchen at the time, but I lived on my own, so I didn't even care. And then my boyfriend moved in, and he's like, okay, we need the kitchen. You got to move your boxes. I was like, I moved 100 boxes. I don't want to. But yeah, like I started doing everything myself. My friend helped me with my website, which took me hours because I'm not good with technology at all. But I wanted to know the ins and out of my website, in case if one day maybe someone does help me or something goes wrong, like I know what to do. So right now I do the website, I do the Instagram, I take all the pictures, like I do everything. I answer all the emails.
And in the beginning you said you weren't very tech savvy.
No, not
at all. So that was something you learned along the way. And as you were learning along the way, it got easier?
Oh yeah, now it's super easy. Like I was like sweating when I do my first order because then like I wrote like down on a piece of paper like what I had to do, and I still was like frazzled because I was like I had to print out a stamp. Like how do I weigh it, or how do I do this, or how do I like what stamp is correct? Because you have to like fill out the whole form for the stamp
Mm-hmm.
and do everything, and then like bringing it to the post office. I do that before I go to work. Like
Yeah.
it was a lot, but now I'm like in my groove.
The
so,
postman knows you.
yeah. I just drop it off at the thing. Sometimes the thing's full, so I leave it at the desk, and it's funny though. But it's good because I don't have to wait in line. I do all my own stamps, and I could just go in the morning and.
While you were starting the hair care products and getting into the industry, was there anything like you probably knew there was going to be some obstacles because you were a female in there? But then once you kind of get in and you kind of break in a little bit and you start making a name for yourself, were there still some things that popped up that were like, wow, I never really would have expected that to happen?
Like with my product line or more barbering?
Barbering.
I guess people still just kind of looking at me like I don't belong in a certain place but honestly, like I feel like that hasn't happened to me in a while because I've made a name for myself and I always say like when I walk in a room full of men, like I demand respect because that's just the type of woman I am and I feel like I deserve that. And I've always just put my name and I've always just made sure I've acted professional and I've acted classy at every event and everything like that. So like guys, I've never really been like disrespected or anything like that because I just wanted to make sure I'm doing it in a classy way. And, like I made a name for myself and I wanted to make sure like my talent's there, my work ethic's there, my professionalism is there. So if you have a problem with me, that's your own problem.
What do you think is next for Lena and what you have going on in the barber world and your hair care line?
In the back of my head, I've always wanted to open a barber school. I eventually, want to have my own place. I have a lot of things. See, I have like too many things in my head, and then I just like try to see where my life goes.
Yeah.
I would love to get my products in stores. Like that's obviously my ultimate goal. That, and then maybe a barber school, maybe like my own barbershop or salon. I'm not sure yet.
Is the barber school like? Would that be something functional that you could do like 10 months a year, or how would a barber school work?
Well, it would probably be all year.
Yeah, it would be all year, something like that.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to talk about that, I didn't go over that we talked about in our notes or anything like that?
I can't think of anything.
All right, real quick before we get out of here, go ahead, plug your hair care, plug your salon that you work at, plug your socials, and then we'll get out of here. We'll
all
wrap it
right.
up.
My hair care is Manan _ hair care. That is MANAN _ hair care. I work at Salon 202 in Howell, New Jersey. And my Instagram is Lena _ Piccininni. That is LENA _ PICCININNI.
All right, folks. Lena Piccininni.
Peach.
Thank you so much for coming in tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you.